What's going on, my beautiful little Naranjas? We are fucking back with some. Well, actually, we're back with a different form of content today. So, this is going to be a part of a new mini series that I'm calling Ray Speaks, right? My Naranjas. And essentially, this is just going to be me speaking about anything and everything, right? I know I have a bunch of my opinions and all that and shit like that that are all over the place most of the time. But actually, we're gonna build one right here. But for right now, right, I figured what's the best way to have my voice reach, right? To have my voice heard. And I figured one of the best ways to do it was to simply have a series where I can do that, right? Where I can answer subscriber questions or I can just talk about the woes of life and some of the things I've learned so that way, like I tell you guys all the time, hopefully you guys don't follow in my footsteps or make the same mistakes that I've made. So I guess this is going to be the quote unquote therapy series. Anyways, with that being said, this episode, oh god, I forgot all the controls. I don't know how to. Oh, this is gonna suck. That's the mine. What the? Oh, that's disgusting. Hold on. Wireless controller, invert, X swap, this, and sensitivity. We should increase that about 10%. Drop item, attack, destroy. Okay. Use item, place block. Okay, that's. Okay, never mind. Alright, yeah, that'll work. Never mind. Okay, I'm overreacting. Anyways, so, I might turn that down just a little bit, or maybe just get used to it. Anyways, so, on today's topic, the first episode of Ray Speaks is all over the place it may be, which I'm actually going to see. I might experiment with the script-ish to make this a little bit more structured, so to speak. I might. Good. But for now, I'm just seeing, because I was going to build like an underwater joint or something, like something that comes out of the water, you know. I'm still trying to figure out what I really want to make, for real, for real. But that's okay, because that gives me enough time to just kind of speak. Well, if Ray can actually learn the controls. There we go. You know what? Right here is about fine. Anyways, so today, I wanted to really discuss something that is very dear and important to me, and it is turning 18, right? Or at the very least, just adulthood, like going into your adolescence, adulthood, all that stuff. You know, the birds, the bees, all that bullshit. Now, I'm not gonna plan on covering every single thing or anything like that. I mean, I can't. That's kind of impossible. But at the very least, I can definitely say that I do plan to cover a decent chunk. And one of the first things I want to talk about is turning 18 specifically. I'm going to be completely honest when I say this, alright? Turning 18 might genuinely be the most overrated thing I have ever done in my life. And you might be like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Hold on, explain yourself, Ray. Well, I'm about to. I got you. So, here, we'll use some deep slate, I guess, for the base and just see where it goes from there. I'm on my Bob Ross shit right now. Oh no, that's the wrong joint. So, if there's one thing, I don't want to hit you, pig, you need to move. If there's one thing society has taught me, right, society. If there's one thing society has taught me, it's that apparently when you turn 18, everything just clicks, right? Well, at the same time, that's more like Gen Z's obsession with the frontal lobe, but, I digress. Anyways, when you turn 18, apparently everything just clicks, right? Everything, I understand it now. Like, everything just makes sense all of a sudden, right? Everyone's like, you're an adult. You know what I mean? How does it feel to be an adult? And they always throw that term around. Now, I'm going to be very transparent with you, right? I'm 21 years old, right? I moved out of my mom's place, the whole messy situation. I filed my taxes like once or twice by myself, I think, for the previous year. And this year, I actually just got done filing. I don't even want to talk about that shit. I've made my own doctor's appointments a few times, you know what I mean? I got to file for insurance or whatever if I can even, if it's not gone, Medicaid or whatever, because my broke ass. My job is going to be a little difficult on getting that, so I might get Medicaid, I don't know. But anyways, I'm going all the way from the original point. Basically, I just want to show you, like, I got some adult experience, all right? I've been living this adult life on, I would say, the accelerated route. On top of that, I'm the oldest brother out of 3. One younger brother, one younger sister, right? So, you know how that goes. You know what I mean? It's like, unfortunately, as the oldest, you just kind of get the flack for everything because, well, you're the oldest, so you kind of have to because that's just natural. Anyway, resentment aside, that's not the same grass block. Oh, it is. Okay, that's good. Resentment aside, getting back to the main topic at hand. So you turn 18. Everyone's hyping your head up, right? You think, oh, you're an adult now. You know what I mean? You think to yourself, you're gonna, maybe you'll talk to so many women, or maybe people will finally start taking you seriously. Maybe you can finally move out your mom's place. All this da 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 da. Gonna be honest with you, man. Adulthood is one of the adulthood is the hardest hood to be in. All right. Now, of course, we have the ghettos, you know what I mean? And that's more like societal and racial, but like, we're not going to talk about that. That's not the point. But adulthood is generally the hardest hood to be in. All right. And I'll explain why. When it comes to adulthood, right? A lot of people are going to have a lot of expectations, right? Or at least you're going to feel a lot of expectation. For example, when people always ask you, oh, well, what are you going to do with your life? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to be now that you're out of high school? Or actually, that's not even, actually, I'm a little wrong with that. They ask you more so, what are you doing now? You know what I mean? Like, the second you graduate high school, oh, well, what's the plan now? And it's like, my brother in Christ, I just graduated high school. You know what I mean? And up until that point, the only thing that you've known is high school. You know what I mean? Because it's like, the only thing you've been doing for the past like 11, 12 plus years of like most of your adolescence has been high school. Not high school, but like, the K-12 system, at least in America, right? You've been studying, grinding, doing all those hours, because I'm a grinder. I'm sorry, I had to hit the Kevin Gates. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wish I got money for real. I don't get it like that. We're trying though. We're getting there. Anyways, so all you've known is just like, school. And now you're finally out. And you think to yourself, oh, it's finally time for me to live my life. Well, yes, you're technically true. But it's probably not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Let's see here. We're going to take a quick little intermission. I don't want to build anything too grandiose. Too grand. So I think I said that word wrong. Fuck. Too grand, grandiose, I believe the word is. I apologize right there. My wordplay. Wordplay isn't exactly word playing right now. Alright, that looks a little bit better. That's a little bit better. That's just the base though. Alright, another wart block. I don't really want to use that. Anyway, so you turn 18, right? Society's build your head up, right? You think to yourself, it's going to be like you're about to have like the best time of your life. It's going to be a cakewalk. Oh yeah, you'll run into some things here and there, but that's just adulthood. Well, my brother or sister, however you identify, we don't discriminate around here. I kid you not, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. All right, I'm going to be honest. A lot of 18-year-olds leave school and they think they're going to go to college, maybe. They're going to party. They're going to get, well, as crass as this is, I don't like using this term because it is not a very appropriate way to talk about women. But I'm just using slang here, again. getting bitches, getting puss and all that stuff, getting that just getting laid, basically, because, you're a teenager. That's like, I'm not going to say your biggest concern, but a lot of teenagers are like, I want to get laid because, we, in this society, we kind of make sex such a taboo subject that it adds to the intrigue. When you talk about sex, people act like you're talking about the goddamn devil. So then at that point, people are like, ooh, like, I really want to see what it's all about. And that's one of the worst things that can really, and that's a whole different subject. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Basically, you probably think a lot of you will, oh, I'll just go to college, or, oh, I'll just work a trade or something. I'm gonna go 4 blocks high. So I'm not the best at this, I'm trying, I'd be on my own little world, I'll be creative. And hold on, let me change the day and night cycle if I can. Friendly, coordinates, days played, TNT, mob loot, tiles, immediate respawns, always day. So it's kind of hard to see at night. Anyways, so you think to yourself, oh, I'm gonna, go to college, I'm about to have the time of my life, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's not really true, alright? I'm just gonna be honest, alright? Number one, college is a trip. It's a fucking trip, alright? I've been to college for 1 semester, and I had fun. I admit, I definitely did have my fun, alright? I only could really afford 1 semester, I'm still paying that back, and I went to college in, 2022, alright? I'm still paying that shit back, so let that be a lesson, kids. That 1 semester of fun, you could be paying for the rest of your days. Anyways, well, not the rest of your days, but you get the point. You can still be paying for it. Actually, in some cases, you would be paying it the rest of your days with, private loans and shit like that. But again, later. Anyways, like I said, you think you're going to go to college, you're going to do this, you do that. And a lot of the time, it just doesn't work out that way, all right? Because first up, you need to ask yourself, as an 18-year-old, realistically, I'm going to be honest, right? I'm going to give my first piece of advice here. If you're freshly 18, the first thing you need to do, in my humble opinion, as a man who's now 21, who's had some time to kind of see the whole 18 cycle and stuff like that, the first thing I can really suggest that you do is, number one, you should probably get your own bank account, right? And I'm not talking Cash App, I'm not talking Venmo or PayPal. And listen, I'm not knocking people that use those services, but typically you should get some sort of bank account. That's probably the first thing that you should really do, because at the end of the day, if you don't have a bank account, well, you're not really going to have anywhere for your money to go. Now, obviously, a lot of people around 16, 17, and they probably worked some sort of small, some part-time job. And that's normal, right? You probably worked a nice little part-time job. So you might already have, there's a good chance you might have, like I said, a Cash App or a Venmo or something. But you should typically try to get an actual bank. And I know that there is some discussion with that because of the fact that, there's there's some controversies with trusting banks, stuff like that, which I understand. And again, that can be an entire different video, but in essence, you're going to need a bank. All right. You need a bank. That's the first thing. And now, typically, I'm just going to be honest, banks usually differ by state, at least in the US. I can't really say for other countries. And, when it comes down to it, you have some banks that are kind of nationwide, I think PNC, or maybe they're just East Coast, I'm not fully sure. But they got PNC, I know they're pretty nationwide, and I think they're the only ones I really know who are nationwide. I guess Capital One, there's them, there's, it's America's something. I can't fully remember if it was, I don't know. There's a lot of them. But the general advice I can give you when it comes to banks is, number one, you need to do some research into your bank. Look into the controversies, the Wells Fargo banks, right? They've had multiple controversies regarding multiple different things. So a lot of people just don't trust them to begin with because, well, I'm not going to trust a bank that has had multiple controversies behind it. And every bank has some shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to sit here and act like they don't. But like what I mean by that is like like excuse me, what I can't unless I go into specifics, it's kind of hard to give a real example, but like if I remember correctly, do your own research as I always inspire people to do. But if I remember correctly, Wells Fargo actually had a scandal where they were basically forcing their employees to kind of make accounts and extra shit for for the customers. Like they would use fake emails and other stuff, and they would basically make accounts and other stuff to kind of get more money out of them. Again, research into that. I'm not saying to just blindly believe me. I don't think you should just blindly believe anyone. I don't remember all the details off the top of my head. Anyways, so because of that, a lot of people are like, well, if that's the case, I don't really want to associate with this bank. You know what I mean? Like that alone is more than enough reason to be like, I don't want to fuck with this bank. So, right there. So that's why I say, do yourself a favor and research. Oh my god, this music's loud as hell. Hold on a second. Brightness, HUD, FOV. I don't need to use that. Anti-aliasing, render distance, all that good stuff. HUD, brightness. Dang, do I not have any? Okay, there it is, audio. I'm just freaking blind as hell. Okay. It's still pretty loud, but hopefully you can actually hear my voice now. The main point of what I'm doing here. Anyways, oh yeah, getting a bank. So I can say definitely getting a bank is going to be one of the first steps because you need somewhere for the money that you're going to, well, be working for unfortunately most likely the rest of your life the way things are looking unless something changes. But you need somewhere for your money to go. All right, like bottom, just like you need somewhere for that shit to go. And typically getting a reliable bank is one of the best things to do. Now, I'll be honest, most of the time you usually will have a lot of local banks and credit unions and shit. And honestly, when it comes to that, again, do your research. Don't just willy-nilly throw a dart at the board. Oh, I guess I'll go with PNC. Like, no. Like, do some fucking research on your bank, my man. All right? Trust me. Do some research on your bank. Let's see. How do I feel about this? Looks like a freaking firehouse. That'll work, I guess. Gotta trim the hedges. Huh? The tree stands taller when there's nothing in the way. Anyways, let's get back to what we were actually talking about. So, make sure you get yourself a nice little bank. Again, a nice trusted bank. Do your research, ask around, ask other adults, hey, what bank do you use? Well, you can't just ask that out of nowhere. You should ask trusted adults. You know what I mean? That's a little mini lesson. Don't just randomly ask people about personal shit like that because, well, a lot of people don't really feel comfortable, and that's a really personal thing to ask. Just a little disclaimer. But ask like, your friends and family, oh, what bank do you use? And they're like, oh, I use blank, blank, blank. You know what I mean? Like, ask them. Let's see. Fill this out. And when you make your decision and you get all that stuff, you want to make sure that it's in your name and all that. Like, you don't have to write off your parents. Like, the main reason I'm saying, like, I'm setting you up because I've seen this happen with so many kids, how so many parents betray their kids the second they turn 18, and it's fucking disgusting, but that's a whole nother topic of video. Anyways, do yourself a favor, get yourself a nice bank, and make sure it's all in your name and it's all yours, right? That's the first step you should probably do. Second step, if you haven't already, you need to think about what you want to do for the future. Now, I'll be honest, you shouldn't put this off until 18, right? You should be actively thinking about what you want to do with your life. However, we're just going to assume because, again, all you've really been focused on is school. You haven't really thought about your life. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, well, I literally have just gotten to this point. You know what I mean? trying to see something here. No, I don't really like that look. No, not that. There you go. Eh, I mean, it looks fine enough to me. Just a little basic house. Definitely feel like I could make it a lot better if I actually like could make like a little joint out of it, but let's see. Sorry. I'm trying to actually make sure that I have the game. Oh yeah, that looks a little bit better. All right, that's decent. That'll be fine. Working on my building skills. Anyways, like I said, second thing, you need to figure out what you want to do with your life. And again, you shouldn't be putting this off until 18. Honestly, this should be something you are actively thinking about very often. And I'm not saying you have to. Yeah, that's lopsided. I'm missing a set of bricks over there. But I'm not saying you have to sit here and that you have to, know exactly what you want to do and that you have to, have it all figured out or nothing like that. But I'm saying, like, for example, do you want to go to college? Do you want to pursue a trade? Do you maybe want to, start your own business somehow? You know what I mean? Like, you need to think about that type of stuff early. Don't wait until, you know, 18 to do that. And then you need to research these things, by the way. If you want to start your own business, what are the basics of starting a business? Do you mean to just make this like a little side hustle, like you cutting grass or like washing people's cars or something? Are you trying to make your own legitimate business, right? Are you sure you actually want to go to college, or are you just okay, I think I see where I messed up. Or are you just going to college because your parents told you to go, or because society expects you to go? Right? You need to actually ask yourself these questions, because if you don't, there's a really, really good chance that, again, you'll be living for others and not yourself. And that's not fair to you. You shouldn't have to be living for others. You should be living for your fucking self. You know what I mean? So, think about what you want to do with your life, and don't just rush into anything. Don't just be like, oh, well, I guess I'll just do college because I can't think of anything else. Or, I'll just work for a year or two because I can't. Again, think about it. What do you want to do, right? And listen, I get it. There's things like societal norms and like, what is it called? Like racial expectations. Like, for example, I know it's very popular in like Asian cultures, especially, to hear like, oh, excuse me, like an Asian culture, to be like, oh, like you have to be a doctor or an engineer or whatever, or else you're going to be like deemed unacceptable or whatever. And again, that's just what I've heard through, people of Asian cultures, of how they are. I'm not saying that is just what I have heard. Like, I am African American. I'm a black man, so I can't really confirm nor deny it. That's just what I've heard. But like, yeah, you want to make sure that you're doing something that you actually want to do. Like, don't just pick something like that. Like, this is going to be like this, like, depending on how things go, this could be for the rest of your life, my man. Like, you don't want to just take, and like, I don't want to make it seem like it's super dramatic and like you have to get it right the first time or anything like that. No. But like, at the end of the day, this is your life you're talking about. You should not take anything in your life for fucking like not seriously, but especially things like this, you should really take this seriously, because again, you never know where your life can really take you. That'll be. I feel like it's a little too long. I think I put a little too much on this side, and that's why it looks lopsided. But hey, I don't really feel like rebuilding, so we're just gonna have this cuckoo ass house going on. But anyways, so yeah, take that shit seriously, my man. Like, take that seriously, because again, like I said, you don't want to sit here and not take your life seriously until it's like 5 years down the line and you're like $20,000-$30,000 in debt, and all of a sudden you're like, I wish I took my life more seriously. Like, no, take that shit seriously every single day. If we're being completely honest here, but take your life seriously. Moving on. And like, I can give some suggestions, because I don't want to just sit here and not give any suggestions. Be like, oh, well, you're telling me to do all this, but you're not suggesting anything for me to do. Well, there's things like I said, you can go into college or you can go into a community college, which by the way, do not be ashamed about going to community college. All right. I've been to university. It's really not all that it's cracked up to be. All right. I promise you, it's just an institution at the end of the day. All right. Sure, they got bigger halls, they've got bigger stuff, they got this, that, and the third, but like at the end of the day, they all are just places where you go to learn. Now, obviously, they all have different programs, and like for example, like if you're doing sports, maybe you want to go to a place that is better at sports, like, literally any Texas university, LOL, or whatever else, you know what I mean? Like, okay, fair enough. Or maybe you really like the way a campus looks and its program, right? But you really need to consider the cost, right? And just on a little mini note, again, really consider the cost, right? Don't just blindly be like, oh, I like this college. I really want to go here, so I'm going to go here. All right. Consider if you can actually afford it or not. Trust me on that one. Well, besides that, you can go to trade school. Yeah, I mean, you could try to just work and just scrounge some money together. You don't get some savings going, which honestly, if you want my honest opinion, that's about the best option for most people these days. You know what I mean? Just to go ahead and, get like a little bank account and, state like get like your first $2,000, whatever saved up and just start going from there. Like that is a pretty decent thing right there. Like getting like a specific like 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, just saving and saving and saving until you get like a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, you got like a little landing pad. So that way, if you do lose your job, you have something to fall back on for a little bit. Or you want to make like a purchase, like, oh, I want to buy this thing. You don't have to wait until next paycheck. You can have like a little bit of free money. Now, I'm going to be honest here when it comes to savings. Typically, it's best to just not touch it. All right. Once you save, don't touch it unless it's an actual emergency. But just throwing some things out there, right? Again, you can start your own business. You can take a gap year, right? And just chill out, right? You just work, you just did an entire, you know, 12 years or whatever, 12 levels worth of work, not even counting like all the like studying or if you got held back and stuff like that. Like it's natural to want a break, all right? There's nothing wrong with taking a gap year. Now, the problem comes when you just when you just start doing nothing with your life. But again, we're gonna not going into super deep specifics. But yeah, like I said, think about what you want to do with your life. And listen, there will be times that what you want to do may not align with others' ideals or what they want of you. And to that, like I said, the best advice I can give you is to live life for yourself. Because at the end of the day, I'm looking for a bed if you're wondering, but it's your life. I'm just blind as hell. Yes, I am blind as hell. But anyways, it's your life, you know? Like, you shouldn't be sitting here thinking to yourself, like, oh, I have to do this, or my mom and dad are not going to love me, or like, oh, I have to do this, or like, society's going to like deem me as unacceptable, or whatever. Like, no. You know what I mean? Like, no. You should want to live for yourself. And that's really the end of it. You know what I mean? Like there's really nothing much else to say. You should live for yourself, no one else. Not for me, not for hold on, my bad. I'm just kind of talking and, building as I go. But not for me, not for anyone else, not for your mama, not for your daddy. Live for yourself. Live for your fucking self, my man. Live for yourself. Because at the end of the day, as I tell people all the time, you're the one who's going to be taking all the flack and shit if something happens in your life. You know what I mean? Like, if something happens, like let's say you go to college and you mess up, right? Maybe you took out too big of a private loan and it's in your name. It's in your name. So now you have to deal with that shit, whether you like it or not. It's like, well, you're the one who chose to take that shit out, so now you're the one that's got to deal with it. And a lot of these people that recommend you to go on certain paths and stuff, right? Like do this or do this or do that. Again, they're typically not the ones that are going to have to suffer the consequences if, when you fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be the ones paying the prices and shit. You are. So live your life for yourself. Anyways, We got those two things out of the way. Now it's time for the next thing. If there's another thing I can tell, boom. There's another thing I can tell a lot of these boys and girls out here. Another tip I can give you. Don't rush it. All right? Don't rush it. I know you're thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to be an adult so I can do this and I can do this and I can do this and I can listen." Don't rush it, my man. All right? Take it in stride and just take it one day at a time. All right? Take it in stride and one day at a time. Do not sit here. Sorry, I had to wake up kind of early today. But excuse me. Don't sit here and think, "Oh, I have to have this done by this, and like I got to know what I'm doing, and I got it. I know." All right, just take it one day at a time, breathe, and just realize that you're still learning everything, right? And also, that's another quick tip that I can give every man and woman out there. Never stop learning. Where are we? We're at 30 minutes. All right, gonna get ready to wrap this up really quick. But never stop learning. All right, never. Now, I don't know if this phrase has already been said or taken by anyone, but I'm gonna I'm gonna say it myself. As far as I know, this is like somewhat original by me, right? The man who refuses to learn will never learn how much of a fool he really is, right? Because here's the thing. I hear a lot, especially with older people. They're like, "Oh, well, I've been around X amount of time, right? I don't need to learn shit." Or like, "I know everything I need to know. I don't need to learn anything." Well, you see, now you have this very jaded and stagnant mindset where any change to you is now going to be a negative thing. And you can't say that I don't have any truth to my words because we've already seen it before, right? We've seen people get stagnant, and we've seen people, especially older people, refuse to learn things, right? We've seen even younger people refuse to learn things, and then it costs you later in your life, and then you have to overcompensate in some areas. For example, boomers out there, they may not like it, but we are in a very technological world, and I'll be honest, I think we are relying a little too much on technology. So I agree with the boomers to some extent in that case, but that's a whole different discussion. But like when you hear like when like boomers out here will still be giving checks to cashiers, and it's like, bro, just use some paper money. Like no one, like checks are at this stage are really only used for like serious things, like if you're buying a car or something, what I mean, like bigger legitimate purchases. Just as a small example. And of course, that's their way of how they're used to stuff, so you can't really get mad at them, but like that's just an example. Or people that are like, "Oh, well, what's the point of me learning about XYZ?" And it's like, well, you don't want to be ignorant on things, right? Obviously, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to learn everything. That's just impossible. But if you just refuse to learn anything, then you're not going to change. You're not going to be able to make any positive change in your life, like at all. You know what I mean? And that's just not good. Like, the world will never remain the same forever. All right, things will always be changing. Things are never going to just be stagnant forever. That's just not the way we are. All right, we things change, people change, we evolve, we find out new details about stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's just not ideal. It's just not ideal. I think that's the smoker furnace. I think this is what I'm looking for. Inventory. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. Like, that's just not how we are as human beings. Like, we're just meant to learn more. And we're meant to find out more. We're meant to explore and all that stuff. Right? And I know when you start getting into what humans are meant to do, it's a whole philosophy thing. But I just mean it in the general sense of we are not a stagnant race. All right? We're always constantly evolving and learning new things. And that's the way it should be, right? Because things change. I'm not saying you have to change every single day. I'm not saying you have to like it or agree with it, but you got to accept the fact that people are just different, all right? People are different, things are different, and nothing will ever remain the same. Ever. My man. Ever. Yeah, never stop learning. That's another little tip I can give everyone. Just never stop learning, right? And don't just wait for answers to come to your doorstep. Be proactive, right? Oh, I have a question about like protons and electrons, right? Don't just wait until the next time you hear about it. Go look it up on Google. You know, I mean, I'm looking for a painting, but like go look it up on Google, or like, oh, I don't know how alcohol mixes with soda very well. You know what I mean? And I want to know more about it so I can make drinks at home. All right, that's cool. Do yourself a favor and go Google it. You know what I mean? Like Google is free, and a lot of people forget that. Use it. Use the resources at your disposal. Oh my god, why is that painting so freaking massive? Another little tidbit that I can give people. Right, moving on to the next point. Another little tidbit that I can give people. Right? Oh my god. Right here. Okay, that's fine. Another little tidbit. Ugh, sorry. This old body's catching up with me. It's like I'm playing. But that's actually a really good spot right there. Start taking your health more seriously. Now listen, and this is a personal story of mine, right? I don't really feel like building much more, honestly. I mean, I have a kitchen-ish and a bed. What more do you need in 2025? Excuse me. Anyways. Oh, damn, I just broke my door. Well, hold on. Take care of your body, man. All right? Listen, your body is literally your temple, right? Like, you need to be proactive with it. Literally proactive. You need to go out and get sunlight and breathe. You know what I mean? You need to actually exercise, right? Not just, oh, well, when I walk to work, I know. All right? Like, you need to exercise, like lift some weights. You know what I mean? Do some cardio. Don't skip leg day. Look at my lopsided house. Hey, at least I actually own it. Anyways, like, don't just sit here and, do nothing with your life. Like, be proactive, get sunlight, drink water. Especially, that's a really big one. Drink water, okay? Like, I got my first, I think it was a bladder infection, and it was one of the scariest things I have ever had in my life. It was so painful. I'm not going to say anything else. And it really taught me. I got that at 17, I believe, because all I used to drink was like soda and juice and shit. Because, it's all I knew. I'm not proud of it, but it's all I do. But anyways, like, yeah, like that shit is not healthy. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just sit here and only drink like soda and shit and not get any exercise and always be on the game hunched over all day. Like, you need to exercise, go out. You know what I mean? Hit the weights. Talk and like other things like practice social interaction, like talking with people. And I'm not saying just to, like, let's be transparent here. I'm not saying only talk to people when you find them attractive or just to quote unquote riz them up, as the kids say. I'm saying talk to people to actually practice your social skills, right? Talk to people so you can actually know what they're all about, right? Get a little insight. Oh my God, this house is so fucking long. I'm sorry. Anyway, talk with them to get a little bit of insight to what they're all about. You know what I mean? I think it's the roof that's really setting me off. Let me see. I really think it's the roof. But like again, like I've been practicing this strategy with myself, right? When I've been talking to people at my job, like finding out things, and it could be something simple. Be like, oh, like who do you think is going? Well, it's after the Super Bowl, so we already know the fucking answer. The Eagles freaking beat the Chiefs finally. I hate them boys. Listen, all I'm gonna say, I'm just tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes' ugly ass face. Yeah, he's done great for the franchise. Yeah, he's a superstar. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. But I'm just tired of seeing his face. Like, I don't want to see the same two teams over and over and over and over. I don't want to see the same team over and over and over again. I mean, anyways, I'll be like, oh, like, who do you got in the Super Bowl? And then, they'll, like, right there, like, that's a conversation starter. Or like, oh, like, how's your day going? Like, are you doing okay? And some people, maybe they don't want to answer, and that's within their right. You can't force them to answer. Or be like, oh, how's like, what's your opinion on, like, what, like, do you like eating cheese at night or some shit? Like, do you like what's your opinion on like exercise? Like, do you exercise? Again, and obviously you need to use caution with any questions that you ask, because at the end of the day, it's like you can't just go to people randomly asking stuff. You got to have some context. You got to read the room and stuff. But again, you only will get to that point if you actually talk to people. You have to talk to people. And listen, I get it. I hate talking to people too. All right. Like as a kid, I always wondered, I'm like, why do people hate talking to everyone? And I'm like, I understand it now. Like people in general are very disgusting human beings at times, but at the same time, they can be very nice and kind human beings also. Right? Human beings are not just like disgusting troglodytes. You know what I mean? Like no, like we're human beings, like not everyone is the same as that one last bad person you met. All right, there's a lot of really good people in the world, and I know I don't mean good as in good versus bad, because we're being honest, humans are very gray if we're being honest, but at least in my opinion. But yeah, like talk with other human beings, get to know them, like I hear a lot of, especially like young boys be like, I don't know how to talk to women, and I'm like, well, can you even talk to like your mom, your grandma, your sister? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, can you talk to a female classmate or something? Not really. And I'm like, well, there you go. I hear a lot of, I hear a lot of young ladies be like, I don't know, like I just don't really know how to talk to people in general. And I'm like, well, did you spend all of high school being a social recluse basically? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like, and it just adds to my other point that I mentioned the other day of like the things that you do in your childhood will definitely, that was a lot better and more acceptable, but it will follow you into your adulthood life. Like it'll fall or into your adult life, into adulthood. So you need to build habits early. Don't just wait till New Year's resolutions come around to try to improve your life or build new habits. Like you can do them anytime you want. Anyways, yeah, like be proactive, be be your best self. That's the goal you want to be, is to be your best self, right? No matter what happens, you just want to be your best self. Honestly, I'm probably not going to use Minecraft anymore. I might just put like some Ninja Turtles or something in the background. But yeah, being your best self is the thing you want to be, right? And since we're getting quite long here, we got 41 minutes. I'm probably going to go for an hour, honestly, because I'm about done with my 18, with the little trials and tribulations of 18 or whatever. What other tips can I give anyone? Oh yeah, as an 18-year-old, and I'm telling you this because it's an unfortunate truth, and I find it very disgusting. But if I'm the one who can prevent something from happening, then I will be that person, right, to have that difficult conversation. There are a lot of very nasty people that exist in this world, unfortunately, and they have very nasty intentions to do very nasty things. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about that type of stuff too deeply because A, I'll most likely get age restricted. And B, you can take a guess. All right, I'm not gonna. Damn, I need a nap. Excuse me. I'm not gonna talk deeply about it. You get the gist, right? You understand what I'm saying. People do nasty, cruddy, shitty things. Listen, as an 18-year-old, I want you to listen to me when I say this, right? You are at the most vulnerable stage of your entire, hold on, what is this? Deep slate tile. You are at the most vulnerable stage of your entire life, right? This is literally the most vulnerable you will ever be, ever, right? Because listen, I'll be honest, right? There's a lot of people out there, and I don't agree with this. I don't like this. I'm just telling you, just so you know, there's a lot of people out there, right, that have this ideology of like, oh, them fresh 18-year-olds are the best ones, and it's disgusting. Or like I said, there's other people. What is this? Deep sleep. Okay, I keep on forgetting. Or there's other people that literally like prey on people that just turned 18 because they're more gullible. You know what I mean? And it's going to be easier to manipulate someone that's freshly 18 and hyped up off the I'm an adult now and they're trying to prove themselves than an actual grown adult who knows better, right? And again, like I said, I tell you guys this because, again, if I can prevent something dangerous from happening to somebody, I'll do my best to, right? So understand you are at a very vulnerable state, both mentally and physically, especially as an 18-year-old. And you need to make sure that you understand that. All right. Don't just sit here and think to yourself like, oh, I'm 18, I'm a grown ass man, blah 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 blah. Like I remember when I used to work at Sheets, right? There was this one dude, and I feel guilty that I did this to him, but I just had to hammer the point home. He was like, I'm a grown ass man, and I turned around and I said, how old are you? He said, oh, I'm 19. I laughed in this boy's face, right? And I could see the humiliation. And I'll be honest, I feel kind of bad looking back at it. But I'm like, my man, you are not an adult, all right? You are a legalized teenager. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm speaking from experience, all right? And I get it. I know how embarrassing it is. I know how it feels. I get it. But again, I'm doing my best to teach you this stuff early so it doesn't come back to bite you someday, all right? You are not a grown adult. You are a teenager who is now legally able to be further exploited by the system intact. All right. Basically, at 18, that's the earliest that they like Uncle Sam and them can start being like, all right, it's time to get into this boy's pockets and everything else. And again, I'm not gonna go into a super deep political debate about it, but like again, like look at other people that I don't want to name specific names, but you get the gist. Like when it comes to shitty people, they're like, oh, finally you're 18, finally. You know what I mean? Now I can do the nasty shit that I want to do because you're legally of age and it's nasty and shit like that, right? So, again, recognize that you are a very vulnerable demographic. You're very gullible, all right? People are going to try to use your age against you. Don't let them, all right? Be smart. Think with your brain, all right? Think with your brain. So I kind of want to just put some grass on the outside and call it a day. Right? Don't let people sit here and try to manipulate you, my man or woman. You know what I mean? Bone and marrow. That's what I'm looking for. This bone meal, or not bone marrow, bone meal, whatever. Don't let people do that to you, man. And again, I'm telling you guys this because as someone who was also very on the I'm an adult now train, it fucked me up, all right? It got me into some things that I don't really want to talk about right now. Right? I don't mind talking about them, just not right now. But got me into some shit, and I can happily say that I'm very glad that I learned those lessons as early as I did in life. You know what I mean? Because some of the things that I was getting into definitely could have got me in very deep trouble or even hurt potentially. Don't worry, nothing illegal, nothing like that. Just like I said, some of the things that I was doing and thinking could have got me into some very bad trouble. You know what I mean? Like I could have I was easily exploitable. I was easily able to be misused and mistreated. Like it was easy. You know what I mean? Because again, I was so gullible. And I'm not saying like you have to be freaking light Yagami and calculate every single move of every adult. But again, if you feel like someone's using you or manipulating you, you need to be mindful of that, my man. If you feel like someone's like trying to get some sort of what's the word I'm trying to look for? If someone's trying to get something out of you and you don't feel comfortable, if you feel like your boundaries are being pushed, speak up, my man. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid, right? Because you might be like, oh, but I don't want to be mean and all this. My brother in Christ, this is your boundaries we're talking about, all right? You can't be mean with your own freaking boundaries unless you're misusing them with malicious intent. But that's a different episode. But like, again, you need to take that stuff seriously because there are people out there that are really disgusting. All right. And again, I don't want to see anything happen to any of y'all. All right. I'm very tired of hearing all the nasty shit that happens to these kids on the news and on these YouTube documentaries and stuff, bro. It's sad. It's very, very sad. Like I'm so sick of hearing it. And if I can protect any of y'all and like by giving you the information that may help you someday, I want to do that. So make sure above all else, you protect yourself because genuinely speaking, sometimes you don't really even realize how much, like, I've seen so many people, especially when it comes to, like, you know, the whole P word, if you know the big P word that I'm not gonna say on YouTube. You get the gist. Especially like when kids are freshly 18, they're like, finally, I can do the things I want legally, and that's one of the nastiest things I've ever even seen an adult attempt to do. It's disgusting, but unfortunately, there's just those types of people out there. Anyways, moving on. Like I said, keep yourself safe because at the end of the day, you gotta genuinely realize that when it comes down to it, you are really your own, like you are your own support system. Like you are the most important person in your life, you know? Like you got to take care of yourself. You got to start taking your life more seriously. You got to start, doing XYZ because at the end of the day, it's your life, my man. And if you don't take it seriously now, you probably will never take it seriously. If you don't learn some of this stuff now, you might be paying for it later in your life in a much more painful way. And if there's one big piece of advice I can really give, right? I'm not saying to just blindly listen to anyone, but when it comes to stuff, do yourself a favor and listen to the things that they say. Because there's some things that I've heard that I can definitely say without a doubt I've ignored. And it cost me. All right. It definitely cost me. Right. I'll just be very transparent. There are some times where like I have had people tell me things and I just straight up ignored it. You know what I mean? Be like, oh, don't focus on these girls too much. Like the girls will come in time. And my ass ignored that. And it led to me losing my, card, quote unquote, have my first experience be a very unfortunate one, we'll say. Again, I don't really want to get into that, but a very unfortunate experience compared to what it really could have been with another woman who actually cared about me, right? And stuff like that. Like, I genuinely do my best to tell people this stuff to as many people as I possibly can because I don't want anyone to ever feel the way that I felt after that, right? I was, like, as a little mini side note, I was so girl crazy. I was so adamant on getting my piece of puss, if you catch my drift, getting my, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be all descriptive about it. And it cost me. And it cost me something that wasn't money. All right. And I've been trying my best to heal and get over it. Not get over it, but get through it, get past it ever since. But, damage is done. I mean, I can't take that back. So if I can save a subscriber to a painful lesson, I will always do my best to. And honestly, that's about it. All right, guys, let's get a little. Actually, let's see here. Get some bow meal going. But yeah, like besides that, I really have nothing else to say for this episode. And if I actually, let's see, we're talking about the subject of turning 18. Oh yeah, actually, if there's one last thing I can tell you about being 18, is to understand something, right? No matter who it is, whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, your mama, your daddy, whoever, understand that just because they are related to you or you have relations to them, that understand that they can still betray you. I'm not saying your mama and your daddy is going to betray you, but I'm saying understand that just because someone's related to you or you're related to them or you guys have relations, that doesn't mean that they can't do you wrong, right? Like my own mama did me freaking crazy, and that's a video for another day. But like again, my mom did me fucking crazy and did me very dirty and very grimy, very slimy. And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, that's fine, I guess. But it's freaking blockhead of a house. But anyways, like I never thought that that would come from my own mama. You know what I mean? Like it can really be some of the people that you genuinely thought would never do you that way that do you that way. So just keep in mind that all the people in your life, I'm not saying that they will betray you. I'm not saying that you should, look over, look with both eyes open when you sleep, but just be mindful that no matter how deep that bond runs, the way life works, people can and will betray you for even some of the smallest things, like money. So make sure that you know who you're dealing with. All right. Knowing a person doesn't just mean knowing their first and last name and that, oh yeah, they're kind of cool when we play games sometimes. No. Right? I'm not saying you need to know their fucking social security number, but ask yourself, how deeply do you really know your friends and family? What are the bad parts that they haven't told you? Because everyone has something that they haven't told somebody, right? What are the bad parts that they haven't told you about themselves? What's about their past, right? What lessons do they probably have to share with you, right? You got a lot to learn. So you need and there's the 1 hour mark right there. You got a lot to learn. All right. So do yourself a favor and give yourself some time to learn it. Be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, and understand that you will make mistakes. All right. And that's okay. We all do. Just do your best. All right. Do your best, be smart, listen to others, and above all else, trust your gut. If your gut says something's going wrong or that you're being treated a certain type of way, you don't like it, you should probably listen to them. All right. If your gut's telling you, I think that this is a good opportunity for me and I should probably take the chance to do it, take it. You know what I mean? You never know what can happen, right? If your gut's telling you, I don't know, man, I don't trust where we're at. I don't like this here. I think we should leave. Then you should probably leave, all right? Your gut is like your little Cortana in your head. Well, in your gut. Lol. But listen to it. Don't just ignore that voice. Listen to it. Because usually that's your conscience. That's your little spidey sense telling you, hey, pay attention, pay attention. You know what I mean? But that's really all the advice I can give you. And that's just on starting to turn 18. Obviously, I can't give you the super in-depth thing, but if there's one generalized tip I can give you when it comes to 18 or turning 18 and going into adulthood as a final big tip, if you learn nothing else from the video, hear me out on this. If you learn nothing else, accept the fact that you will make mistakes and give yourself time to learn from those mistakes. All right. It's going to be a very long and hard road. It's going to take you some time. It's going to take you a lot of time. Right? I'm only 21 and I'm still trying to get my finances in order and figure stuff out, get my insurance and stuff, figure out, relationship stuff. You know what I mean? Like dynamics and shit. Figuring out how much I love my girlfriend, how deeply my love runs, how loyal my friends are to me, what my sexuality even is and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm still figuring out a lot of big stuff. Remember, you're only 18. You just turned. You don't gotta have life figured out by 30. All right? A lot of the adults that you see walking around, they don't even have lives figured out. A lot of us are just surviving, unfortunately, which is disgusting and sad, but that's America, lol. People can't afford to actually live. But anyways, a lot of us don't have life figured out. We're figuring this shit out as we go. All right? So don't be afraid to ask for help and don't be ashamed if your life isn't comparable to that of someone who is like years older than you. Like one of the best things I saw was that someone was like, y'all be 20 wanting things that 30-year-olds don't even have that 40-year-olds have struggled to get. It's all about perspective. Life's all about perspective, my man. And above all else, make sure that you use your voice. The voice is a very powerful tool that can be used for malicious and not malicious purpose. All right. So use it wisely because again, your voice has much, much more power than you would think. I ain't talking Skyrim. All right. But anyways, that's my little episode on some of the advice I can give to a lot of people turning 18. Right, just very general and some tips here and there, but that's my advice I can really give. And with that being said, my beautiful little Naranjas, please genuinely stay safe, make good decisions, trust your gut,